Another day. A new success story.
The success story of Dane Madsen. Who is the champion of today's episode of Success Story? Dane Madsen grew up in a small rural community in Idaho. On the lower end of the income scale, but was raised to solve problems and fix things. His upbringing required him to be flexible and inventive in the solutions he presented. And this essential way of being was at the root of his ability to find a significant market opportunity. When he established yellowpages.com, which he later sold for $100 million to what is now known as AT&T. Dane Madsen's success story is what we will share with you today. About Dane Madsen. Dane Madsen is a Seattle-based corporate strategy expert who, over 20 years in financial services, has worked with over 35 firms as an angel and venture investor, founder, co-founder, CEO, director, advisor, or consultant. He founded yellowpages.com, which was acquired by AT&T in 2004. He has worked in innovation on 3 continents and is involved in B2B technology-based enterprises that solve huge problems. He is passionate about water technology innovation after over a decade of heading an industrial and freshwater process and product research and development company. Dane Madsen grew up in the startup world. His father owned a little business, and he finally started and ran his own. That was before putting on a suit and tie for a job at Lehman Brothers. That was a significant wake-up call in terms of the disparity in advertising resources and options between Wall Street and the big guys and everyone else. Yellowpages.com. Yellowpages.com, a website in the United States that provides listings for local businesses. In 2013, it was rebranded as yp.com or simply YP. It currently provides a wide range of marketing tools such as online presence, local search, display ads, and direct marketing. Yellow Pages was the first major company for Madsen. He started the company actually in 1996. Back then, if you weren't listed in the Yellow Pages, you didn't exist. It was comparable to today not having a web page. You were not credible. For a business that was still seeking to sign a lease and secure its own address, that was a risk. Facebook didn't even exist yet and Yahoo had just gone public. Then one of Dane's co-founders gave him a jubilant call to tell him he had discovered network solutions. After spending $132 and spending 7 hours on hold, the co-founders were able to acquire the domain name yellowpages.com. Dane's business attracted a major investor after 2 years of working through the night, creating the first search engines and marketing the product despite the fact that no one thought the internet would ever become anything. In 1998, a significant financial group bought a majority stake in the business. Just before everything in 2000 collapsed, Dane rushed back in to regain control of the business. Sadly, the $5 million that was initially raised was lost, and the company incurred an additional $2 million in debt. The servers were under threat of being turned off. Back then, AWS, Amazon Web Services, didn't exist, and running a server would cost $80,000. Despite widespread skepticism that Yahoo or Google would drive the company out of existence, it managed to raise $32.5 million from extremely wealthy people, selling company for $100 million. The company generated yearly revenues of $13 million to $14 million by 2004. Strong growth was experienced, with a customer base that was growing steadily at a rate of around 10% each month. At that point, other businesses started to fear Google's potential threat to their own businesses. Stepping forward, AT&T brought their checkbook. Dane turned this into an auction and put the telecom firms against one another, because he had maintained excellent relationships with all of them, including AT&T and Bell South. Finally, for $100 million, the company was sold in an all-cash transaction. Dane offers some of the fundamental guidance that is becoming make or break for today's new startups based on his experiences. Here are few quick examples. Co-founders. Selecting your co-founders is crucial. Co-founder problems account for about 64% of startup failures. Dane claims that this is a person who really has to be willing to fight beside you. Branding. On branding, Dane says branding isn't the logo. Branding is not advertising. Branding is the DNA of how you operate a company. Product market fit. You must interact with your users and customers in person. They advise going back to the whiteboard if fewer than 60% of your users wouldn't be extremely disappointed if they lost access to your product. If you're creating a marketplace, keep in mind that users won't always appear where advertisers are, but that users will always appear where users are. Additionally, Dane advise entrepreneurs to create an enterprise version of their product. The major names and figures are there. And that's what makes potential investors want to fund you. The real job of a CEO. Dane asserts that the CEO's sole responsibility is to ensure that no one runs out of money. And he even recommends that some founders might want to seriously examine whether they should serve as their own CEOs at all. That requires working full-time hours while traveling, putting on the show, obtaining the necessary money, and making decisions that are in the user's best interests. Finally, you might not make the best CEO if you want to focus on products.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through our series, Success Stories. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and found inspiration in the remarkable tales of these extraordinary individuals. If you did, please show your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our channel.